also ultimately, like when you're in the shower, and particularly in locker rooms, right? Like you're in a very vulnerable position. So like
Right.
at baseline, that has to be way more consent driven. Like it has to be like verbally, vocally consented upon because it just is such a like ultimately way harder to set boundaries in that space. So yeah, that's tough. But ultimately, the other reason you're probably more okay with it watching back too, by the way, is that we know how consent driven Ilya really is. Like he's
Yes.
very consent focused.
Hmm.
I love
Yes.
it.
And so I was like coming back, I was like, oh, this is actually a great scene. I didn't like it at first.
Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or fact-based reality. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all messed? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're headed back to that steamy hot, heated rivalry.
Put your face mask on.
Yes. I love it. I love it. It's become such a culture. Also, like we were just talking about this. It's what you should tell us what you read somewhere about like what it's like, because I love that. It's so true. It's become like an addictive culture now.
I saw some comedian saying that it was like black tar heroin and that there's going to need to be a DARE program for people who are just like got a heated rivalry fix and are just obsessed, and it's rewired their brains. Because that's how I feel. I feel forever changed by this show.
Oh my gosh. You didn't tell me the DARE part at first. I love that. That's so great. It's so true. And I hope it's just like the DARE program where actually it does nothing but excite people about it more.
Right. Make people watch it more. Yes, that would be perfect.
Exactly.
That would be the best outcome. Best case scenario.
Literally. Let's do it. Let's do the DARE thing. I love it. And do the DARE thing. It's like do the damn thing. Do the DARE thing. Yeah.
I like it. A little sexy rebrand for DARE. I think that's key.
Exactly. Especially now that we know that those programs, like all abstinence programs, including about sex, that they actually just promote actually unsafe use of the thing that they're trying to eliminate. Think about prohibition too, right? Like these are now that we know these things and that war on drugs made it worse, then it's kind of fun that we can now use the DARE program as a stand-in for things that just make things more. Like let's do the DARE thing about this. Let's do the DARE thing about this. And it means that we want more of it. We want to make children addicted to it.
Yes. All children should be addicted to heated rivalry. It will only make you better.
It truly will, because it offers this like alternative reality and a dream and an illusion, but like a beautiful illusion for us to work towards. And I think it's something that kids being aware of earlier is a great thing. And I think they are too. Luckily, our youth are more aware than we were, of course, about lots of things like pronouns, other stuff.
And the I'm sorry you didn't feel like you could tell me, as opposed to the I'm so ashamed that you're queer. That was beautiful. And that got me sobbing. Instant sob. Just instant. Yes.
Yeah. No, that got me because it was real uncomfortable meal up to that point. Not meal, but like sit down.
Not for Ilya. He was loving his pasta.
I loved Ilya in that scene. He was so great. It was so cute. He was like perfectly affrontive. He was his normal self, but like toned to like a parent level, you know, like being able to like be with the parents, but still be himself. It was so good. It was a great.
We are lovers.
He was like, don't say that.
You just made that so much. Oh, that was so funny. That was my favorite.
So good. It's so good. And then and he was like, we have boyfriends. And he's like, boyfriend? You haven't said that before. He's like, yeah. Boyfriend.
It was so cute because Shane was like having a little breakdown, and then
it brought him back out of it. He's like, boyfriend.
It was adorable. Oh, I loved that. I loved it so much. Made me so happy.
It's a joy. It's a joy and a pleasure to watch. This is actually a good point to say. If you have not seen Heated Rivalry, hop, skip, jump right on over there and watch it first. It's on HBO, and you probably just won't. I mean, you might enjoy this because you're not going to watch it, so it'll be like sort of like the recap of the main themes for you as somebody who isn't seeing it in terms of like the cultural zeitgeist or the conversation about it. But this is not like we're not going to do a recap. So instead, it's going to be like we're gonna tackle some themes that came out of it, some conversations that have been popular in popular culture, if you will, pop culture, but also just as like queer people watching a queer show, and specifically queer women watching a queer male dominated show, that what is our reactions to that and some topics about it. So it could be of interest to you if you haven't seen it, just in terms of socio-political content, but really I think you'll enjoy it more if you have seen it. And for those who have seen it, you'll enjoy that this is the next level of discussion about it. We're not going to go play by play. Also, I think a lot of people have seen it. It's been a real big popular topic. I saw at the New Year's Eve CNN New Year's Eve coverage. Did you see that with
Andy and Anderson? I love them.
It's my favorite. I love their New Year's Eve shit. It's so good, and it's so like actually that's hella relevant to our conversation today. Why don't we come back to talking about that actually? Because that's very much actually the exact same dynamic that we're going to talk about with Ilya and Shane. Not just that, but also, did you see, we'll come back to that conversation about Andy and Anderson. Did you see the part where Brandi Carlile was on it being interviewed, where they're talking to her?
And she's like, it's all I can think about.
She's like, I go to bed thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. I was like, I love it. It's so good.
It's amazing.
When I saw that, luckily I had already seen the show by then too, so I could really relate deeply. But when I saw that, I was like, okay, that's so fun. It's great that it really is like queer women, not just bi, but also lesbian women really like coming to the fore and talking about it in a comfortable, excited way. I saw them sort of like, okay, one last thought, and then I'll shut the fuck up. But I also saw them like incorrectly reference Miley Cyrus as having said she was obsessed with it, because the headline was like, Miley Cyrus is yet another person talking about how hot Heated Rivalry is. And I was like, good for her. So I go look at the interview, and actually what happened was someone said to her, have you seen Heated Rivalry? And she said no, but it's what a lot of people are talking about. So like, yeah. I was
That's
like,
weird.
What?
That's
I was like,
not
she didn't
correct.
She didn't add to the heat about Heated Rivalry. She just like acknowledged that she will have talked about it. And she also said, she like what they said was like she adds to the heat and says she would love to write music for it. Because like she said, I would be happy to. They're like, would you write music for Heated Rivalry? She's like, I don't know it, but I'd be happy to write it for them. It seems like everyone likes them. That's it. That's all she said. I was like, guys, she didn't even say she's gonna watch it. Like, what's happening?
Sit down. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Doing the most. But it shows that the media is like aware of the hot topicness, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it so much. Makes me so happy.
So great. That's so great. Okay, I love it. So we're gonna have some themes. We're not gonna do check-in or reality check today because we promised you we wouldn't last time for this next time because we're going to do the second half of awards. But now that we're taking a pivot, rest area moment to talk about Heated Rivalry was still a little bit more in the conversation, we're just still going to uphold to that. Also, we didn't have an episode last week because we were recognizing Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and of all the times in the universe and in our culture that we've needed the importance of that day, of that leader, of that movement, it is definitely this year. It seems like every year it's more and more needed, sadly, lately. So we did take that week off in recognition, and this week we're back, but next week we'll do the annual annual rewards part 2. We started last
annual
time.
reviews.
Review. That's so much. That's relevant. That's a form we fill out at work. That's why that's what that was. That's why that is not a fun thing. It's a great story. I love it.
This will be much more fun than the annual reviews. Yes,
I love our annual rewards. Our annual rewards are so fun. I really enjoy them.
Exactly. They truly are.
Okay, guys. So we'll do that next time. This time we're doing Heated Rivalry. We're doing themes. We're jumping right in. So our first theme, our first topic of conversation is just the absolute broadest of it, the same way we would do if we were funneling in a qualitative research project. You start with the most open-ended question, which is just global thoughts, reactions, and interpretations. And so there's, as a reminder, Dr. Ray had seen Heated Rivalry when we talked about it last week, 2 weeks ago, when we talked about it. Dr. Ray had seen it. Dr. Kay had not seen it. I had not seen it yet. And so we were talking about it sort of like me as a naive observer, playing Columbo a little bit. And now I have seen it. And Dr. Ray has also seen it still to this point now, maybe 3 times, or is it
2?
Twice, fully through, ready for a
2
third.
Plus, I watched the first episode a third time. So
I love that. I love watching the first episode after the last episode of most shows. Like after I finish the finale, I'll often go back and watch the first episode again, just to like for example, like Breaking Bad. Like, it's like everything. I just like, I love doing that. So that's fun. I like that you watch that again. That's cool.
I actually find it hotter on rewatch, like the initial sex scenes, knowing where it goes. It's wild. Like, I'm like, oh, like the shower scene at first, I actually didn't like as much because I thought it was a little like, my first interpretation was like, he's kind of like making him uncomfortable. But then when I rewatched it, I think I saw it a little differently. But I think that argument could still be made. That was the only moment that I was like, is the consent of this there or is it not there? And I wasn't sure. But rewatching it, I was like, this is kind of hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we know that the consent ultimately was there. But you're right. Yes. Like if it hadn't ended up where it went, it is a tougher thing to get behind. Because also ultimately, like when you're in the shower, you're and particularly in locker rooms, right? Like you're in a very vulnerable position. So like at baseline, that has to be way more consent driven. Like it has to be like vocally consented upon, because it just is such a like ultimately way harder to set boundaries in that space. So yeah, that's tough. But ultimately, the other reason you're probably more okay with it watching back too, by the way, is that we know how consent driven Ilya really is.
Yes.
Like he's very consent focused.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so I was like coming back, I was like, oh, this is actually a great scene. I didn't like it at first. And then I changed my mind on second and third viewing.
I love it. Oh, that's great. Okay, good. So that's the context. We have different view. I've only seen it once still to this point, but I have seen it all the way through. So we have some themes. Actually, the first couple of themes after we do our global reactions will be continuation of the conversation that we started last time, because that means that now I can contribute to it in a new way. So a couple of the themes will be things we've talked about already. In our global reactions, you might have some things you want to repeat too, Dr. Ray, because I will not have had the same reaction the first time as I will now. So it's okay to be as repetitive as you would like or need or desire. So those are our ground rules, friends. Guardrails.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll go first with my global reactions, because then you can also like weave in yours as a response to, it might change the conversation a little bit. Okay, fabulous. So I'm also, to those on the video who see the video, I'm going to use my phone a little bit because I have my notes here. So some of my global reactions. I think one of the things is I totally get why people love it. I have like 17 different reasons why I think that people love it, and they all make sense to me. And I love it too. And I think it's very steamy and hot and consent driven and safe for me to watch as a queer woman. So I think there's like things like that I'm all the way behind. I think one of my, and I wouldn't say like, and by the way, I have 3,000 other things I would say that I love about the show. So, but I'm going to share my one caveat, because we had talked about this, Dr. Ray and I had off mic, and I had said, I'm not going to tell you yet, so we can just talk about it as openly, authentically as possible. But I think that's the sort of the thing that's like between us still. So I want to say it, get that out of the way, and then we can go from there. Also, but even though I'm centralizing this at the beginning of my points, I really want to say I actually have all positive things to say. And even this is nuanced. It's not totally a critique. But one of the things I found is like a little bit, like left me a little bit wondering, I suppose, is that it ultimately, the ending meant that the whole show was like with the culmination of coming out or like disclosure of your identity, and that like some people just don't have that option. And so like in the case, and I loved, by the way, that this is why it's so nuanced, because I loved, by the way, that Ilya was like, is it unsafe to do that? Like he didn't say like you need to come out. Like he was like, is it okay to do that at your house? And he's like, yeah, actually probably it's fine, which is, by the way, a very common situation. A lot of people feel like I actually probably could come out. They're probably going to be fine. It's just still hard. It's a hard conversation to have. And so I love that they like brought that into light and illuminated that perspective of like, sometimes you just don't know how it's going to go, but like you figure it'll be fine. Mostly that's how it was for me. Like I figured, because my older brother had already come out before I did, I knew how my parents would react, and I knew it wouldn't be perfect, because it obviously the time in our history that it wasn't ever perfect. There was still where everybody had a hard time with it at the time, but still today I would say that most parents have a hard time saying the right thing, right? It's hard to say the right thing, right, ultimately, but it's gotten better. So I do like bringing that into light. I relate to it as well as a coming out story. But I think our focus on coming out in our field already is a little bit toxic, because it's like, it isn't always the fix all that we want it to be. And it also is extremely important, but like disclosure doesn't have to be to your parents to be extremely important, And so I think something about like that specific coming out story, even though I love it and I relate to it, and I love the finale, it's still, to me, I was like, the one thing that sort of like stuck in my craw was I was like, but we are like, ultimately very, very high elevating. We're elevating very highly the coming out experience as like the culmination of being gay, or like the, you know, like the peak experience of like gay relationships is like when you can tell your parents about it, or, you know, so like I felt like a little bit of like, I don't want to like reify that as like the, because I already feel myself in a lot of my work trying to like decentralize the coming out process as like what it means to be gay. So not to say that it doesn't matter. Like I think coming out is extremely important, or like, and I try to say disclosure rather than coming out, but ultimately it is a term that, you know, we use culturally in the queer community. But the disclosure of your identity is important. I don't disagree with that at all, but it isn't necessarily as necessary as what they used to think it was. Like we used to say that like you couldn't move forward in your identity as a gay person unless you had come out. Like that was like a part of your identity development, and that was necessary. And I just don't feel that way. I think some people can't do that with their family, and you know, they can with other people, chosen family, yada yada. So I think it's more nuanced than that, which means also this movie just felt like a little bit, not movie, show, the ending felt a little bit like I was like going back to that time, like when it was like so important, when coming out was like the thing that was like the thing to work towards to be able to like grow in your identity. And it is still important, and it is developmentally important. So it is important. And also just the fact that it became like the culmination of the series, of the season, I just was like, but I will say at the same time, I loved it. I loved the ending. I loved them being cutesy together in the car. I loved the coming out story. I loved it. I just think it didn't need to be like the peak of the show, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I think
I do disagree with you. The reason that I disagree with you is because I think that, yes, the show made a beautiful coming out story for Shane. And I do think for Shane in particular, I do think it was important because he is so close to his parents, and his parents are so in his inner circle. And for Ilya and Shane in particular, like, it will become a thing because the two of them are very public. And if they ever want to have any sort of relationship, they're going to have to be, you know, there has to be some sort of journey on that. For me, it didn't necessarily like generalize to this is the upper level of being, or this is what you have to do, or it's going to go this way. Because I totally agree. It is often for communities and people not safe to come out for so many reasons. And
I don't think it meant that it had to be that way too, just to be fair. Like I didn't mean that it has to be this way, but it reminds me of a time where it was like elevated as like the important peak of like experience. And so like or even like, I don't even mean higher level, like you're a better gay. I don't even think that. I just mean like it was seen as like it was seen almost just like your development as a person. Like now we're seeing it as like an issue for Ilya that he didn't get to come out, right? Like that sucks. Like that's awful. And so we are seeing it as like a needed thing in terms of like you want that. You want to be able to have come out to your parents. And of course we do. We all want that. But because some people can't have it, like Ilya couldn't have it, it does make it more like it's hard to see it. It's hard to see it for people like Ilya to get to see that. And for that to be like the ultimate moment of the finale, I think it just like rings for a lot of people who don't have that experience as like painful or whatever. You know, I think there's like that piece of it. But you're right. Like, keep going. I agree with everything you're saying too.
Yeah. And I almost saw Ilya's situation as like, oh my gosh, like, yes, I can't do that with my family because Russia is fucked up. My family's fucked up.
On his dad. Yeah, and his dad's sick.
Yeah, and I think his dad died maybe or something.
Yeah, he died before he came out to him. He died. Yeah, so he never will. He'll do. Yeah.
I almost saw it as like, oh, maybe this more accepting family can be my family instead. Like it almost felt like it was starting to get familial. So I think I had a different.
Because Shane came out to them though. Like, so like it still like centralizes the coming out of Shane to his parents, that like he would have to do that for Ilya to also be like, this is now my family too, or chosen family. Like, it's like he couldn't have it, but because Shane could, now they both can have this thing. Like it just still like centralizes it as a, you know, as like a necessary building block. But by the way, like it is a important building block. So it's not that it's not like, and I think we both agree about that. Like, obviously I think it more is just like, I was imagining this as watching it as somebody who can't come out. And that like, although I loved what they represented with Ilya. I thought that was so important, but it was like sort of the extreme. Like there are people who don't have Russian families who also feel like, you know, they can't come out and so, you know, I think there's also that, but I think,
or are closeted, in
right,
some spaces and not others, and have to like kind of negotiate that. Totally, yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
like that theme too about the idea that like I loved this idea of having a parent who was like draconian your whole life, authoritarian, who is also sick, and like so you have to like you're taking care of them, but at the same time that they're also still being like a hard ass on you. Like what a cool, and he's still in the public eye, like the dad, and so I was like, wow, what an intricate, like really cool dynamic to look at there.
And shows so much more depth to him than maybe you would get initially. Swoon. And what we're thinking about here too is like this has become such a public gay, bi, queer coming out story that it's like we need to like more stories like this need to be uplifted so that we can show more people who can't come out or disclose for all sorts of reasons, so that this is not like reified or seen as like the way to do it, because that is fucked up.
That's all I feel about it. And it's not even like, I think they should still have that be the scene in the finale. I think it should still be an important part of the story. I just think something about it being like the final scene and being so much impact, and it was beautiful, but like almost like, what if we start the episode with that or something? I don't know. It's like something else, because something about it being like the ultimate culmination of the whole season, I just was like, I don't know, it just felt a little bit too like glowy, I guess, maybe like unrealistic or like, something. And so I think just the way that it was so elevated as an important part of the story, but it is an important part of the story. And so like, I just wish it was like one of many, or whatever. So it's just something about the centralizing of it. Yeah.
Yeah. As the final boss, if you will. I have seen interviews that indicate that it is not going to be an easy road for them next season as their relationship becomes more public. So maybe and hopefully that nuance will kind of get peppered into it. But,
there's so much nuance in the show already too, by the way. Like it's a very beautifully nuanced show. And I think it's really complex and very well written, very well directed, very well acted. And so, and I think even that coming out story itself, even though it's like kind of a little bit stereotypical, it's also very nuanced. Like what mom said, how mom felt, how the dad felt, like that was very well, him catching them, having like it was a nicely complex story.
We'll text.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
And mom's like, whatever, we'll just come over. No,
it's fine.
Yeah, no, it was so good. So good. And those little moments of humor, exactly. Like I love it. It's amazing. But like maybe it's the second to last episode. Like, how the penultimate episode, like it will always have a big thing too that like sets you up for the finale. Like that would be important enough. I feel like maybe put it there as the penultimate, and then the last episode could have been the start of them having a hard time coming out or whatever. But then that sets us up for the next season too, kind of nicely, a little bit more of a cliffhanger, to be fair. But ultimately, I think it is extremely nuanced in every way. And I guess it's not really that I'm saying it's just one story. I'm saying like the way that they elevate it as like, because I felt great. Like I felt so good for Shane. It's like, and then so many people are going to want that don't have it, so it's just something, it's more like I guess like sort of like glowy, but I don't even know. I'm not really necessarily putting good language around it per se, but it's just, I think it's like the escalation of it as like, this is the culmination of the season, regardless of what the coming out story was. It was that coming out was the thing, it was like the boss level. I think that's a great way to put it. Like the final boss was coming out, and that like, coming out is complicated.
Totally. It's not a one-time thing. You have to do it again and again and again, or not do it, or decide. Yeah. It's
here, not there, safe, not safe. It becomes like a trauma reaction. It's like safe, not safe. You have to like dichotomize people quickly, like so that you can decide, is it safe, not safe to come out? Like, so you become a little bit traumatized by it, actually. And then like not vice versa, but like versus, on the other hand, the most beautiful thing too, the other beautiful coming out story of Hunter and Kip.
Kip, yes. It should be
Kip.
Pip. Pip energy. Pip. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He's Pippy. He's a Pip. I love Kip. I love them. I love them together. Oh, we haven't talked about that yet.
No.
Okay.
And I've read the book now, by the way. I finished the first book, which is all their story. And
that's super important context. Okay, so the first book is only really about the two of them?
Yes, it is. And then Ilya Rozanov is actually like, it's kind of like a world building thing. He comes in a few times as just like an asshole. And actually after Scott comes out, Ilya comes to this gay bar after party thing, and like Scott caught a vibe that made, so there's like world building there. And I actually liked the book better because Kip really wanted him to start disclosing, because he was feeling so lonely. They couldn't leave the apartment. There's something about the specificity of being famous that I think makes it all the more complicated for maybe the person who isn't that, which I thought was more drawn out in the book than was the show. But
Yep.
And by the way, the smoothie in the book was just a blueberry smoothie. There was no add the banana. That was
I love it. I actually love the banana though.
I know.
I love it. But it is a little bit on the nose, I will say. Also,
Yeah.
it's a little far. They didn't need to go that far, I suppose. But
no,
also
it was very
blueberries.
sweet.
I've never really thought about that, but like blue balls, like blueberries,
blue balls.
you know?
Yes,
both
the
of them.
sexual tension.
Right.
Yes.
Right. They didn't even need the banana. They had enough there with the balls. The blue
They
balls.
sure did. It's a pretty, I have to say, the books are steamy. Like, I tried to get into romance because I was like, maybe I just like romance now. And I read another romance, even a queer romance, and it didn't quite hit the same. These books, I think, hit really well. I still think the show's better, which I don't often say, but it's just how I feel. I started the second book. I recently got it, which is about Ilya and Shane. And I think Ilya is made a little more so far into a caricature than he is in the show, at least how he reads. I think that, I don't know, I think the show humanized him a little more. That's my take at this point. I might feel differently by the end of the book.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. Do you think it changes to know what Ilya, the actor, is like in real life? Do you think that makes it more nuanced as a character, just that alone?
It might. I'm so deep into that algorithm that I can't even see heads from tails anymore. It probably does, because is he different?
So different. And when I actually saw how different he was, it changed how I saw him in the show. Like, I felt it change. I was like, oh wow, like I like him a lot more now. Like, it's like funny because it's not because I like him because he's less Russian or like whatever. It's because he's putting on like a totally different role. Like, that's impressive. It's naturally impressive as an actor, what he's doing. He's also like actually quite like openly effeminate or more, queer in daily life, which can be like a nice liberating, like when we think about liberation, like that's a pro. We like that about him. So like there's things about it that just make him, but then also what I'm realizing in this moment, which I hadn't before, but what I'm realizing in this moment is that it also means that Ilya is not a caricature because he's also these two things, because we also know the actor, and so more. So then it makes him naturally more nuanced too. Less of a character.
Compelling. Oh, so sexy. I love that man.
I know. He's
obsessed.
Great. I really, really love Ilya. I really love Ilya. I'm like, Shane is like I feel more nuanced about, or like I just feel more complex about. But yeah, Ilya, I'm like all the way on board. Love him. Get it.
Yes. Go off, chaotic bisexual. That's what I'm seeing online. It's great chaotic bisexual representation, which can go into like, I don't think he goes into bisexual villain territory, which is good. He's just like.
Oh, which brings us back to talking about Hunter really quick, Scott Hunter. So what was funny was, as you may recall, Dr. Ray talked about how she'd seen them speak at an event during the Q&A after a movie or whatever. But like I hadn't seen the show yet, so I didn't even know who she was talking about. So then when I was texting with her and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Like Bicon is in this. Francois Arnault is in it. Was also been like, I've been a longtime fan of Francois Arnault. He's been in lots of different things I've seen. I just like find him very attractive. And I therefore was aware when he came out during COVID as bi, because it was a huge move, because he'd been dating these like gorgeous, gorgeous actors. Not that matters, of course, at all, but like he just was like very openly dating women for a while, and then quick pivot. And I just like love it so much. So I've been obsessed. So then I was just like gabbing on about it. And then Dr. Ray was like, oh my God, I thought I was cool having seen them at the book read, but like it turns out like you've known this whole time he's Bicon. I was like, oh my God, what? He's the one you've seen? So then I was like back into my own fangirl. Like that would be a totally different reaction. It was so funny because it's such a microcosm of what we're doing today, where it's like you say it one time and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then like I get on this side of it, I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
this guy, I love him.
He's amazing. I can't believe you saw him. No, that's great. I love that that's who it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hadn't even heard of him before. I guess I didn't realize I'd seen him in Yellow Jackets and maybe something else. Or there's another one that's like real big that he was. I think everybody has seen him in. But then there's some smaller ones which I just happened to see him in, which is why, like, when you feel like you're like, you like whatever, you like discovered them because you saw them in smaller things. Yeah, you low key did. I thought I was on the up and up, but no way.
No, I don't usually pay attention, honestly, to bi culture. Like I'm very aware of bi culture, of course, but I'm not like paying a ton of attention of like who the bi stars are. I've become a little bit more aware of it lately, but partly because through our conversations, by the way, which thank you so much for that, because it does make me think more about it. Like, not just who's in the queer community, but specifically who's out as bi. I like thinking about that. But yeah, so, I just happen to know him because he's Canadian and I went to high school in Canada. So I always like my Canadians. It shows he was in Schitt's Creek from 2015 to
Damn.
2020, which I know. I don't remember him being in Schitt's Creek. Who was he in that? But that would be a big one, right?
Yeah, that's a big role.
Yeah. That's a big show there for him to be in. Let's see what he was in that. That's so fun. Yeah, so anyway, that would be a big one that everyone would have seen. But then he was also in Yellow Jackets, and I'm now looking up Schitt's Creek, so I don't know what the other thing I was going to say was real quick, but we can also cut around this. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just going to let that move. We're going to see it. I'm going to see it in a minute. So that's bicon energy. This brings me to one of our themes, which is, well, okay, two different things that are actually related to that. Do we feel okay about the overall reactions to? I don't want to move on too fast, but is that okay?
Oh, no, I am good to move on.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Here's the thing. This is actually what I have as theme 4. And if it's okay with you, I actually want to just go to it because it's naturally the next one. The theme number 4 is, what do we learn about gay men's experience and bi plus men's experience from the two title characters, or like the two main characters, because one of them is bi and one is gay, openly gay. So, or becoming openly gay, and one is becoming openly bi. But to us, they're openly those things because they told us as an audience. What do we learn about some of the distinctions between those roles and like how powerful? Because I think it is super powerful that they didn't do that. They didn't like make Ilya also be fully gay. You know, like I liked that they kind of kept it at that sort of slightly unique in terms of what we see on TV, because there's never any visibility for bi people. There's no bi visibility, frankly. So to have that kind of represented there, I thought was really powerful. So what are some of the things we learned about both gay men's experiences and bi plus men's experiences from the show?
That is a great question. It was clear to me that Shane felt more trapped. Like there's something about Ilya's experience where it's like he can still hold on to the guise of heterosexuality or whatnot if he wants to. He has a choice. And Shane's like, I don't have that same choice. Like it's this or bust for me. I like men. So it's bi people, I think maybe can kind of be a bit more choosy or selective about how they want to move in the world, where for gay people, they kind of have to commit to the bit. What I don't think was shown for Ilya, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, he was pretty confident and comfortable in his bi identity, which actually that's not, now that I'm thinking about it, that's not common. It's usually a bit more of an ambivalent, apologetic thing. So it's great representation. Is it true to life? Maybe not. Right. I don't know. Right.
Oh, I love seeing you grapple with this because that's exactly where I went, and this is where I landed. Like I went through that exact journey and went for a while because I was feeling both ways about it. In some ways, they're showing that it's easier to be bi, but actually, in reality, being bisexual means you're double discriminated against. You're discriminated against by straight people and gay people because you're not gay enough, you're not straight enough, and so being bicultural in general is actually a very uniquely bad position to be in. But same thing with being Russian and Canadian, right, or Russian and American. So that's also bicultural. So in some ways, that's already a position that Ilya is comfortable with, is being bicultural. So in some ways that's already, by the way, predisposes him to be more comfortable with being bi and therefore confident. But what I ended up deciding is when you first come out, when you first disclose, especially as a man, I think it is easier to be bi when you first disclose, because then you don't have to be like, oh yeah, that was a lie. Oh yeah, Rose was a lie. Like all of those relationships, because to them, they feel like that's what you're saying by saying you're gay, but it's not. But like it feels that way if you just say, okay, I'm gay. Everyone's like, well, what about her? Like, why didn't you do this? Or like, what? So if you come out and you say you're bi, you're like, yeah, I loved her and now I love him. Like I love, whatever. It is in some ways, I think when you first come out easier, but then what happens is over time, you realize it's actually harder to be bi, and that the gay community kind of wants you to conform. Like they want you to just be gay, particularly in the US in terms of bi men. So like bi men, like there's still a huge stigma against bi men for women. Like women don't really like bi men in the way that like they absolutely should. And like men love bi women, right? But that reverse, like it is discriminated against in a major way. And obviously in general it is, but I'm talking about in terms of like having sex with women as a bi man is a lot harder than it is being a bi woman having sex with a straight man. And so I think that kind of dynamic doesn't become clear to you until you're in the field longer, or like in the community longer, not the field. When you're in the community longer, that becomes clearer to you, and it becomes obvious that you kind of need to conform or whatever, and then obviously there's the myth that like if you have sex with a guy, you're gay. Like if you're a guy, if you have sex with a guy, you're gay. Like that's a myth also. So that's also very dangerous. But even within the queer community, I think there's nuances to it. And then also with straight women, there's nuances to it in terms of, how we see it. So because of that, I decided that's what this is showing us. It's like in some ways it would have been easier for Shane if he could have just been bi at first, because then he could have been like a little bit better explaining about Rose, and he could have da. But for him, he actually just right away knew, no, I'm like fully gay. And so then that's why it was hard. Like that's why we're watching him struggle, is because he didn't have that little middle zone. And so then maybe that's what is good for Ilya, is that either he's in his middle zone, like of coming out, which he is because he hasn't fully come out. So it probably is easier to say he's bi. So that's why he's more confident. But like ultimately over time, he might have what Shane's having, where he's going to feel like he has to conform, because bi people actually have it harder because they're not conforming to either group, quote unquote. Or he, because of his biculturalism of being Russian and American or Russian Canadian, that he actually will feel fine being bi permanently. Like he could be a different situation. But I think a lot of people feel that pressure coming into the community for longer to then be fully gay, if you're a guy in particular.
Yeah. And I think, like both are hard in their own specific ways. Yeah. And I think what happens sometimes is people are like, you have heterosexual privilege if you're bi, so it's easier for you. It's like, it's not the oppression Olympics. These are different difficulties, and they're both valid, is kind of where I land. And I like your point about where he's at in his identity development, because I think there is a different thing for a bi person as you settle into like a life partner. Because when you're still like, I don't know, it's kind of like when you're not sure what you're going to do with your life, or what, like committing, not that all bi people are monogamous, plenty aren't. And but like if you commit to, let's say he commits to a monogamous relationship with Shane, those are a series of choices that people will ask him to explain. His identity is going to get misunderstood, and he's going to have to wrestle with that. And that might be frustrating in different ways. So I think you're dead on. I think it would be a different experience for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it is different at different times in their identity development too. Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's a big part of it, is like timing and temporal element in their own like public, especially like you said, the entrance of fame makes it a totally more complicated issue too, in terms of having to come out repeatedly, defend it publicly. So that will be hard on both of them in different ways. And I totally agree. Like when I talk, like sort of the culmination of the like privilege argument that I agree with is like being in a hetero relationship as a bi person, that like you do have privilege associated with being in a hetero relationship. And so when I talk about that for myself, I will often say like, yes, I am bi plus or pan. I've been, I came out in high school, and I've had a variety of different experiences, but being in a hetero relationship right now is a privilege. And so while I have that privilege, I'm also aware of the unique type of marginalization that comes with both the invisibility of my identity, because I'm in a hetero relationship, people will assume I'm hetero. So both the invisibility of my identity, but then also the fact that ultimately, like, I'm not gay enough and I'm not straight enough, so there's sort of like being online. So I talk about that, like just in there are pluses and minuses way. And so I do think that is like very much illuminated by this dynamic, where there are pluses and minuses, and like, privileges and challenges and oppressions. But especially what I like is like what we're saying about the temporal part being a big piece of that like where they are at different times will make it more of a privilege or more of a deficit for them. And then, with the fame making it more complicated too. Yeah.
Ooh, I love that question. It's a good one.
Yeah, I know.
It's me thinking.
Also, really quick about that. So, Gabby, or Wendy. So Gabby's with Robbie, and Robbie is a stand-up comedian, and Robbie's like shtick is being like, I think is being like an opposite person. So like they'll like go hard down the road of abortion and be like, I think we should be able to abort them until they're 9 years old, or what, you know what I mean? Sort of like, like go hard down the road, like, and a little bit like
crass.
Yeah, like a little bit like, I can't tell. Sometimes I'm like, I can't. And I think that's the point, is it's meant to be like a little bit like, I can't tell if she's even fucking liberal, frankly. You know what I mean? Like really, it comes down to that, where I'm like, is she trying to prove a point for our side or like what? But it is curious. And I do think she's liberal, by the way. The final answer is, I think she's intending to like go down that road to be provocative, and also to be like, okay, if I were to agree with you, like what about, so the other thing I wanted to say was that she had a whole shtick and long set about the idea of bi plus men being unattractive, and but went long and like uncomfortable, really painful. I know, it was like really, really bad. Really, really bad. But like the point that she was making, I was like, but that is true, right? Like I think there is like there's something to be said about like she's not right about like what she did with it, but like her point that she's trying to make, or like the comment on society, is like, that's an unspoken discrimination we don't talk a lot about, like straight women towards bi plus men, because that exists. There is a definite discrimination there. And so it's something we just don't really put a lot of light on. And I thought that was a good point. I just hated how she did it, But like ultimately, right? Like, so I think about that also in terms of this is like that came to mind about this in this show as well, and sort of thinking about how that would make it harder to be bi as a man long term. But Ilya has
Totally.
his Svetlana, by the way. Love Svetlana. She's a fucking delight and a joy. By the way, when we were talking about their friends, I didn't mean Rose. I meant the friend of color that Shane has. What is her name?
Oh,
I
I have
love,
no
loved her.
idea.
Loved her. I loved her. I love that they both had friends of color. That was such a delight.
Shane's?
Yeah,
I
she
don't
was the one that was
know.
that. She went to the. Oh no, it's Kips, not Kip. It was Kips. That's why. One of the twins was
Yes,
Kips. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
he actually had one
yeah.
person, two
He worked with,
women of
and one.
Indian
Yeah,
descent. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm
yeah. One
forgetting
he
their
worked with, and one was the
names.
best friend. Right, and
Yeah,
it was the best friend one, not the one he works with, that I was thinking
yeah.
about. And I just love her so much. She makes me so
She was
happy,
great.
and I love that
She
both of
was,
them have friends of color.
yes, she was
Yeah,
great in the book too. And
so good.
I also loved the other person who was like, "Girl,"
Yeah,
when
like
she saw them
obviously. Yeah,
interacting. It
she's
was
like,
so
please.
funny.
Yeah, exactly. I know they
She's
were
just
both
like,
great. Yeah,
it's like the
exactly.
how we're all
Jaw,
feeling. It's like
jaw on floor. Yeah, exactly.
obsessed.
She was a great
Yes,
like chorus in the Greek form of that word. Yeah, she was great.
yes.
Yeah, they both were, and I loved that they had that they had like friendships of color, like women girlfriends of color in particular for the like already existing gay men. I guess as I'm now thinking about it, right? Like Shane didn't have that actually. Interestingly, like maybe that actually is a big part of what made it safer for Ilya and Kip to like admit they're even gay to begin with, right? Like ultimately there could have been an acceptance there, and by having that close friendship from early on,
Yeah,
I
Scott
love
didn't
it.
have that either. I don't even
Right.
know that Scott really had it. Well, he has his teammates, but like, I don't know.
Right. What friends
He's
does he
kind of
have other than
lonely.
girlfriends? Yeah.
Yeah,
Right. Great point. Yeah. Look at us go. We hadn't even really uncovered
yeah.
that, but that's a great point, right? Like having a girlfriend of color would really help you be more confident in your identity. So it makes sense that those are the two characters that have that.
Good job,
Yeah.
Rachel Reed. I have to say too, a lot of what is in the show is actually in the books.
Hmm.
Credit where credit's due. Like she is a huge part of why this is a tremendous hit. And like the sex scenes, like that is her.
I love
And
it.
most of the plot stuff too. Like she does a tremendous job, I really think,
I
in
love it.
creating this world that is so compelling to so many people.
It truly is. And that's perfect because that's our next theme is why do women of all sexual identities love this show? Specifically women, but they could be gay, bi, they could be Brandy Carlisle, or they could be, Miley Cyrus, or they could be somebody who's straight, who's female. Why do women in particular, love this show?
I gave
I
my
guess,
thoughts last week.
yeah.
I can do a quick synopsis again. I think that there's sort of a dom submissive thing happening there that I think actually a lot of women like, but because men have fucked things up so much, like it's not always comfy to witness on screen. And I think this was a safe version of it. I also just think that seeing them connect emotionally and like come to that place that they got to by the end is just hot. Those are my two big things. But I am so curious to hear what you think too.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with the pieces, both about like the men and the dominant submission being safer. I think another iteration of that too is the fact that like gay sex is where we get a lot of the terms for power in sex, like top and bottom, because
It's
in the
true.
heterosexual relationship, it's assumed that the man is going to be the power position and the woman's going to be in the power down position. And that's unfair and not how a lot of women feel. And yet we aren't like allowed to ask for that because it's not a common thing. Whereas like with gay men, it's like it's up in the air who's going to be, and so it adds a level of actually privilege to gay sex where that becomes a part of the conversation. And whereas for women, we don't get that. We have to ask for it. But the gift of it is that like we get that language from gay sex. And so
Mhm.
getting to watch gay sex and thinking about it in that way is really helpful to us, frankly, to be able to not just see it being played out, but learn some language even for ourselves. So I totally agree about that. And that's what I would add to that. I would also say that these are hot, safe, consensual, objects, frankly. They're being objectified, right? We all are when in sex scenes that are not us. Like, and so it is safer because we're also not worried, is somebody going to get raped? Like, and even though that could happen, by the way, it still could happen. It just doesn't feel the same kind of stakes as it does for us watching heterosex. I think watching heterosex, we're ultimately identifying with the woman in a way that, like, if we're playing with power, we're also going to be scared, right? Like in a way that we're not watching these two men because it wasn't us. You know, we weren't seeing ourselves in it. And I also think in a different way, like on the flip of that, so like that makes it safer and we can play out the power dynamic and it's really sexy and we're not as scared and we're not, you know, and we aren't as really, which I fucking love that, by the way. That's great. And on the flip side of that, there's also something to be said about the fact that we can relate to them, even though we're not men, because we as women and all people who are not straight cishet men or, you know, cishet white men, all of us have had to do that. We've had to learn how to put ourselves in someone else's shoes to find something relatable. Like, because all culture really privileges the white male experience, right? And so like we've all had to do that. We've had to learn how to put ourselves in their shoes, which when I thought that thought through, when I played that thought through, it also made me realize no wonder we're so much better at being like empathetic and being leaders because we've had to do that. And so like, because we've had to do that, we're better at fucking feeling how other people feel and taking care of each other and taking care of relationships. And so I feel that way about all people who are marginalized. I think we've all had to do that. It's like learn how to identify. And so then that also means that we can access this set between these two gay men in ways that other people couldn't do across lines, right? Like, so like white cishet men could not do that with a women comedy, like, or lesbian comedy, or I don't know, it's in comedy, but lesbian show, right? Like, so, but whereas we are already practiced at that, so we can already get a lot out of it without it being actually about women. And in fact, it's safer, as I made the point of. It's even better than that. Also, I think what's really cool about this, which I actually think is cool about people that I think makes everyone like it, regardless of gender, not just women, is that like they are bros, but they're like not bros. You know what I mean? Like, like we can, because like ultimately we were all raised to want bros. Like we see them on the show, we see the sports athletes, like they're bros and they seem fucking really hot and sexy and cool and they're athletic. And when they do really well, we're like, you know, like we get really turned on by them, but they're also unsafe because we ultimately also know that they like have murdered their fucking wives. They've abused them. They've raped them, or they raped women. It's become so normative that we like know that about so many athletes that are still out there on the field getting millions and millions of dollars. And yet we know that they raped this woman in 2007, whatever. So like ultimately that makes them unsafe, but these are bros who are like not unsafe and also like very masculine, but also able to be in touch, right? They're able to be in touch with their soft sides. Like that's what we all want. We all want that. Men want to be that and women want to be with that. We want to have bros who are like that, you know, which we can't because they're gay, but they are like that. But like there could be straight, you know, right? There are straight versions of that, frankly. Like honestly, I think my husband is one of those. Like he was a huge football, you know, player, and he's also very sensitive and loves loves this show too. You know, it's like doesn't have to be threatened. His masculinity isn't threatened by gayness, you know. It's like, so I love that, and I think that that's something that we get out of the show as well.
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. I loved hearing your thoughts.
And just being able to see equality is attractive. Like the fact they are equal with each other is attractive. We want to see that. Like that's something women want to see because we don't get that. Like sex is not like that for us, you know? And so that's another thing I think we all like about it. And then we have a suppressed masculine side. Like we are also partly masculine ourselves. And so because it's so suppressed, getting to see it play out in something that's safe where it's like okay for them to be masculine is also feels good to us because it's kind of like playing out our masculine side. Yeah.
Totally. Which I love to see and experience. Oh, yeah, exactly. I love my boys.
Right. I know, me too. I know. I love them too. I love your boys as well. I call them your boys. They're a little bit more yours than mine. But so we're getting in touch with our suppressed male sides through traditionally feminine roles being played with by masculine men. So it's okay to be embodying it because it's through a man, and patriarchal power culture allows that. So like we can embody our masculine side through watching the show because they are doing it okay in an okay boundary because it's like still patriarchal. It's still a man doing it. But like ultimately, when men are either solely masculine and hetero, that's harder, right? Like when because we can't relate to them because they're not being like effeminate enough. They're too masculine, they're too whatever, and they're not with men. They're with women. If they're hetero, it's harder for straight women to relate to the masculinity in that man because he's not with a man. But the other thing that's harder for women to relate to is when a man is being too quote unquote too effeminate, because then it's also sort of like, well, I'm trying to play out my masculine side. Like I'm trying to play out my suppressed masculine side, and I can't do that if they're being effeminate. So basically like this is the specific type of gay man that would allow women to play out their masculine suppressed side, basically. Is my point about that. I think that's it. I do have tons of things, but that's so many things, right? There's just so many things that make it like really attractive to women of all kinds and people of all kinds. I think it's just it's a great new kind of like character to be looking at for all of us, and I'm glad for it.
Me
It's not
too.
new to us, by the way, but new to the mainstream.
Yes, exactly. Should we go to theme 2 or 3?
Oh, no, we're
What
on
do you
3.
think?
Don't worry. Yeah, we've already we are on. We only have 2 left. One of them that is we can go right on to is what do we think about them coming out? That is pretty quick because we already covered that. But like, do we think that they need to have come out? Like that they as actors have to have come out if they're going to be playing gay men?
I don't think that they as actors need to come out to play gay men. I think there is a problematic thing happening in our culture right now where it's really cool to not come out. So it's like at the individual level, I respect their choices. At the cultural level, the trend that I'm seeing is problematic because it seems to actually, and ironically, kind of do the opposite of what this show is like espousing, which is like, yeah, you shouldn't come out at all. It's no one's business, which again, anything that's black and white is not helpful. And I think that if people feel comfortable to disclose their sexual orientation as actors and actresses, they are doing a huge service to people who are trying to make their way in the world. And like you said last week, Dr. Kay, or 2 weeks ago, in us understanding the positionality they're taking in playing these roles. So would I want to know? Yes, I would. Their choices are their choices. The trend troubles me a bit, I think is where I come down on it.
Love it. Very nuanced and exactly what I was playing with you last week, too, like 2 weeks ago too. I love that point. Like it is such a like both and I think that's ultimately where we both lay. And the things I would add to it too is like what I think it comes down to is like it does change how we watch the show. Like no matter whatever their sexual identity is, or if we don't know or we don't know, it's going to affect how we watch the show. And that's what they're aware of. And so then it becomes more nuanced because we're like, are they purposely doing that? Like, did the director say when he hired them, I'm going to ask if you're not gay, just don't tell people because I don't want people to not buy in. Because if I knew for sure that Shane was straight, I don't know. It would change it, right? Like, and maybe it would change it because I'd be like, that's kind of hot too, right? Like it's sort of like straight act, whatever. But ultimately, I wouldn't believe that he was buying into those sex scenes. Like I wouldn't believe that he was really feeling as good in those sex scenes as I want him to be feeling. And so like, I want to know that he is all in on those sex scenes. And to know that, I need to know he's at least bi or at least wondering, curious, questioning, right? And so because it changes how I believe his role in those sex scenes, I think it's important for us to know. And I think even if it was just, I don't know, I want to know he doesn't know. Like we said that last time too. It's not about identity foreclosure. It's about identity disclosure, just so that I can know that you are as comfortable in those scenes as I want to know you are. I want to know that actor is comfortable doing that because if that actor is not comfortable in that scene, that's all I'm going to be thinking about is like how uncomfortable Shane was, the actor in that scene, having to do that with, and I'm sure Ilya's, the actor, was very, welcoming, and comforting and amazing, I'm sure. But like ultimately, like I don't feel as comfortable watching it if I don't know that even the actor is consenting. I think that's what it comes down to. And that is important. So like, I don't know, it kind of like throws it in the face of the consent thing for us to not know. If we put it that way. Okay, so those are my thoughts. And the other thing is that the Jacob Tierney came out and said that he wanted to make sure that the actors that he hired would be able to go all in on the sex scenes, which is like an interestingly like new, it's like sort of touching on that, but like not directly. And so that to me means they were thinking about it. They were fucking talking about that with the actors. Like, are you going to come out? Are you not? Did it bit bop? Which would make me think that Shane is straight if he didn't come out, because otherwise, like him just saying like I don't want to be wondering if it's a cool acting straight guy. Like, is he straight acting gay guy or is he a cool straight, like, but like trying to be cool? Like, is it a straight guy who's trying to be cool by being gay, or is it like a straight acting cool gay guy? It's like that. Actually,
he might be. Honestly, I've thought about. I'm like, maybe he's bi. Like that's my hope. Yeah,
which
yeah.
I also would love and hope, and I think that too. Yeah. I think he is, frankly. But like, if I were like really gonna judge, but like I don't want to judge, and obviously it's up to him to decide what he is and where he is going to tell people that. But like ultimately, if he's not bi, though, it is a different show. It changes it for me. And so like that's where like I think if it is a political move of like don't tell people because we don't want them to know you're straight, like that sucks. But I think I would rather that than know he's straight. Like I would rather this be the scenario if he's straight. If he's not straight, I would rather they had fucking told us. You know what I mean? Like some version of it. Because like if it would have changed it to know he's straight, but I'm wondering anyway. Like now I'm wondering, are you straight? Are you comfortable? And that sucks. I hate wondering that because I don't want to worry about his consent. But it would be worse if I knew he was straight because then I would really be like, fuck. Like his consent. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
It's
complicated.
complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, their choice, and it's a bummer.
Yeah. Right. Well, it just changes the show. Right. It changes the audience experience, which isn't like the most important thing, which is what we're saying. We're saying like ultimately the most important thing is that you come out how and when you're comfortable. Of course, that's number one. But number two, if you want the show to like hit a certain way, then it's going to hit a certain way. You know, it's going to have an influence. Yeah. So that's all there is to it about that.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I'm glad we like hit back on that one though, because that's kind of a big one. The last one is just, are there any other sociopolitical themes that came up that the show dealt with that we haven't hit on? Like one I mentioned, by the way, was the idea of like not raising, but like taking care of a parent who has been very controlling and intense, and yet they are sick. And so you have to take care of it. It's like managing up, kind of. It's like what that's like. And I thought that was a great theme.
Yeah. I think they could have actually done more with race. They almost kind of shied away from race.
Exactly.
In an interesting way.
Yeah. Yep. And that was the theme that wasn't there. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Masculinity, certainly. Sports culture, certainly. All those things. Tenderness. Yearning.
Consent, sexual violence. Yeah.
Consent. Yeah. They could have done more with race.
Yeah, race is the one that's massively missing. And I would also say SES. Like, I think that's like, it's like almost in the fringes, but it's not really, like, because we don't really know what. I mean, it seems like, well, first of all, there's some SES once they became rich and famous, like that's there. That's like, okay, now they have their own apartments. They're talking about buying their own house, building their own house, yada yada. Which, by the way, was so cute that it showed that Ilya watched his documentary thing. Was so cute. Oh my god, it was so fucking adorable. But yeah, so like that kind of shit. But like ultimately, it looks like Ilya was always rich, right? Like, and it looks like maybe less so true for Shane. Like they had enough money. They were like upper middle class, maybe. But ultimately, like, it's never like addressed. It's never talked about. It's never talked about like how. What's talked about is how rich they are now. That's like the one thing that's talked about. So I think they could have done more with that as well.
I agree.
And ableism. Ableism as well. Like what happens when someone gets injured? Like the fact that like when Ilya was like limping in that one scene in the locker room, I was like, that could change his whole fucking career. Like, you know, it's just like, so like that kind of thing could have been played with, I think, as even more centralized to sport culture than any other, frankly.
And the glorification of playing through injuries and how that kind of fucks you later in life. It honestly does. Like those things catch up with you, but
Exactly. Yeah. That could have been a really powerful one as well. And then I think also ultimately, like there were some. So I liked the idea that the women in particular were more so there as like they're obviously like supporting characters, but like as the friends or like literally supporting characters. You know what I mean? I like that they were there as the supporting characters, but I think there could have been more done with them too. Like I think in particular. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was thinking that could work for the intersection with race. Like, I think they could have done more with the fact that they were the women of color friends, that could have been, understood more and explored more. Yeah.
Did not pass the Bechdel test, that show.
No. Although, remember when we said that she like came out and said that she adjusted it to be like also trans or gay men? And so maybe it would fit because of the gay men version. Yeah.
Yes, this is true.
But yeah, not the women version of Bechdel test, that's for sure. Well, fun. What a delight. I really love this. I'm so glad we took some time to come back and talk about it. I think people probably got a sense that I also just like love. Well, why don't we end with that? Like what your interpretation of that is? Because I love it a lot, and I do. And I also understand why people are obsessed with it. I just gave like 18 reasons myself, and I also agree with all those reasons. And also I think I'm not like living and breathing it as much as I think Brandi Carlile, for example, and maybe Dr. Ray and some other people are. So Dr. Ray had an interpretation.
My interpretation was the more cynical, like Dr. Kay has a beautiful optimism that is central to who she is, despite, all the bullshit she experiences in her life. She tends to have a very optimistic way of moving through the world, which I think is beautiful. I tend to be more of a pessimist, and I think the show is really hitting with the cynical pessimists among us and like infusing some hope in life or something. Because my partner is more optimistic than me, and he likes it. He loves it. He loves sharing memes with me, but he's like not. I don't think he's like thinking about it when he wakes up and goes to bed at night. And that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a common experience still. And so both are common. And I think also like my optimism, I think, comes from the shit I've been through, that it's more like most everything else is better than that. So like everything's fine. It's like nothing's as bad as that got. So I think in that way, that means also like this illusional, like in agreement with your theory, this means it's like illusion that she's built. And the author talked about this too. I think the book author talked about how she wanted to build like a fantasy of like what it could be like if hockey players were able to come out. And it's so funny because as I was watching, I had that thought, like when finally Scott Hunter and Kip are out there on the ice, I had in my head, I was like, I wonder if that's what this show, I keep doing that because I watched it all at once. I wonder if this show was always about that, like just like what it would look like for hockey players, because hockey players don't get to come out, and like that's like one area where it's just never been okay, still like to this day, still not okay, blah blah blah. Just like the army, by the way, whatever, it's still not better, you know? So still, but point being, I was thinking about that. I was like, I wonder if it's really all about that. Cause that's like what we're playing with now is like, what if somebody did that in real life? Cause I was thinking like, what if someone did that tomorrow? Like in real life, that'd be crazy, right? Like everyone would freak the fuck out. It's so exciting. Like what a cool thing, and what a cool thing to play that out so that maybe it will happen. Cause now it like made a version where that happens and everyone loves it. Even the bros with podcasts, you know, like everybody's talking about it positively, not like freaking out about it. So I was thinking of that. And then it turns out she said that exact thing. She's like, it started from a place where I was like, why hasn't anybody, like, what if they did? And I was like, that's so fuck. That's great. Because I agree. Like, that's what makes this really exciting is there's a world where this will happen one day, you know? And like,
actually, I think a hockey player has come out since the show.
Right? Like, and that's smart, by the way. I love it. But yeah, that's like really, really exactly. It's like what a beautiful new reality. So I think in some ways it's sort of like, right. So if we're thinking about the optimism versus cynical part, is like for me where it's like, or I already hope that will be one day happening. And like that I can imagine why she thought about this for the show and yada, like it's a little bit easier for me to access. Whereas if you're a little bit more cynical or like worried about, which fairly so based on the like depressing reality that we all live in, then that would also mean that like this is like exciting as fuck. Like it's like what a fucking cool. What a like switching gears. What a switch in sets. Yeah. It's so cool. I agree. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Makes it more fascinating.
It's a great show. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Good world building. Great job, everybody. We love it. And we love you, Heated Rivalry and actors. And we love all you listeners. And we will see you again next week for the rest of our rewards. Jesus fuck. Our rest of our awards. Our annual awards.
Awards.
Those words are coming back. So we will see you in the meantime on our social medias and also our patreon.com/realitytest, capital R, capital T. You can also go to Patreon directly and use @reality test in the search bar, or you can therefore you can pay $5 measly to become a member. And if you're a member, you get to see the video episodes of this, which means you'll get so much more content. There's like a lot of content that came last time we met. There were several things where I was like, you better be on video if you're going to see this. And I'm still not going to tell you. So you got to go be on video to see it. Anyway, point being, go see that. The other thing you can do is if you don't want to pay the $5 measly, you can still just become a free member. If you're a free member, you get access the night before to our audio episodes. So, and once we actually start adding ads, which is slowly coming down the pike, then you will also be able to find ad-free listening through becoming a member. The other thing too is like that is coming down the pike. If you became a member right now, a free member, we're going to be giving out a raffle-y type thing of a year of free membership for paid membership. Again, just $5 a month. It's not even that much, but that will be free for a year for some of the people of the first several that join. So you might as well join as a free member. I mean, as a paid member. Of the paid members, they're going to get a free year of membership. You might as well join for the $5 a month on the sooner end, because before we get the ads, and then that like drives you towards getting, because I know that's what it does for me, but to try to get the ad-free episodes, you might as well do it sooner because then you're more likely to get one of the free years. So hop on, skip on, jump on over there. And then the other thing you'll find us on is in Instagram at Reality Test Podcast. You can also find us at Dr. Ray Pods and Dr. Kay Pods for individual ones. Then we're also on TikTok at Reality Test Pod, or YouTube at Reality Test Pod, or Facebook. Reality Test Pod is the name of our page. And our Gmail is realitycheckpodding@gmail.com.
Yes, and do not forget to rate, review, subscribe, and to tell all of your friends about our fabulous podcast.
Yes, please. And hi, friends of friends.
Yes, please.
Thank you for coming. Bring your friends too. We'll see you all next session. Bye.